Oh, good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening. Yeah. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective. We've got a little bit of a technical issue here. I hope we're going live over everywhere. Welcome to the Pivotal Podspective. This is a show where we are chatting to extraordinaires virtually everywhere, aren't we, Adrian?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And they have pivotal ways and tips and tricks. They're here to help you guys and us, because we're chatting to them, but help us all to adopt, adapt, pivot, and improve personally and professionally. And so I'm your host, Elliot Brown, along with, of course, my co-host,
Mr. Adrian Robansu.
And our self-publishing extraordinaire guest, Dr. Emee Estacio.
Hi. Thanks for having me, Elliot. Thanks for having me, Adrian. So good to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure having you here, Emee. Thank you very much. Dr. Emee. Do we say Emee? Dr.
Emee? Emee's fine. Emee's fine.
Is it? We're all friends here already, aren't we?
Yeah.
And you're residing here in the UK. You're up in Staffordshire, which I know very, very well, in Keele, which is the very northern tip of Staffordshire. If anybody doesn't know where that is, it's up the M6, so above, sort of top of the Midlands, basically, in the UK.
It's just in the middle of Manchester and Birmingham.
It is very much so, yes. And listen, I mean, you're Dr. Emee Estacio, but you're not here to talk to us about operations or something that's wrong with me. I mean, there's probably a bloody list of that. I don't know about Adrian.
I'm a chartered psychologist, by the way, and I'm not going to psychoanalyze you or anything like that. We're going to talk about self-publishing.
You mean not anymore because you've already done it, I suppose.
Yeah. For my first impression, I already have taken down my notes. Who's the psychopath and who's the neurotic one? So it's all in my notes, but we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, until now you've talked only about Elliot. So what about me?
Well, listen, can we go over those notes after the show? I don't bring it out on air. I know there's enough issues there. But no, we're not going to be talking about psychotherapy or any of that this evening, because we're going to be talking about self-publishing books and the pivotal ways that you use to get 100% success rate with people and doing what you do. So tell us a little bit about what you do, Emee, because it's pretty exciting stuff, and there's a lot of people doing this right now.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I'm a self-publishing specialist. I don't do it for them. I actually teach and empower entrepreneurs to learn how Amazon works so they can write, self-publish, and launch their books to #1 bestseller on Amazon. I know that there's so much potential in books that when you have a book, you are positioned as an expert. You're putting yourself in front of millions of readers on Amazon. And when you have a book and your readers love your book, they become raving fans. They get to know you, your style, your character, because they have read your book. And when you promote your products and services through your book, your readers will feel as if they already know you. They become warm leads, and that's a fantastic way to start a relationship with a potential client because you have written your book. So there's so much potential there. And for me, as a chartered psychologist and as a former academic, writing books is a great way to share what I know about my specialist area. I can reach so many people with books and share my message. And that's really what I'm doing now, helping those entrepreneurs, coaches, therapists, visionaries who have this expertise and message that they want to share with the world, but they haven't got a clue where to start, how to publish their books, and more importantly, how to launch it and get it to #1 bestseller on Amazon. Because it doesn't really matter if you have the best book in the world. If people couldn't find your book, what's the point? So it's important that, you write your book, you publish it, you launch it, and get it in the hands of the readers who need to read your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen, we've got somebody's already said hello. It's the business bros. What's up, guys? Hi, Hernan. Hope you're doing well. Listen, I mean, I've sort of worked with a few people a year or two ago when I was with a group of business people that were training that had been on a couple of book writing courses. interestingly, none of them had actually, even after 2 or 3 months, had really got a completely clear picture of what they were doing. They'd been along to one of these evenings where this guy's basically told them, well, I can help you write a book, and all of these people are paid to go on this course and know these things, but they still weren't particularly clear. A book was coming out. Then I met them a couple of months later, and the book's still coming out at some stage. That's not the way to do it. And there's a lot of people out there that do that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And for me and my students, I walk them through the process. And so many of them, they're really excited. They're very passionate about their specialist area. They're very passionate about their topic. And
Yeah.
they just really want to get on with it and get started with writing their books. But for me, I tell them, okay, hold on for a minute. We're not going to start writing your book now. We will have to set the foundations right before you start writing your book. So
Yeah.
if I'm going to put my psychology hat on, because this is actually what I do, I combine what I know from psychology and also my business and self-publishing acumen.
For
The
sure.
very first step that we do before we start writing our books is to understand our purpose. We need to understand why we are writing our books, because writing and publishing a book, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
And for so many authors, they get so excited, they get so fired up, and they feel as if they have to just get started, they have to get writing. And I think there are a lot of book coaches who would say that if you want to start writing, the first thing that you need to do is just start writing. Take one word at a time and until you finish. But with me and my students, and for those who are going through my Get It Done Challenge, which is a 12-week program with me, the very first thing that we do is we understand our why. We understand our purpose, whether it is to write a book because you want to leave a meaningful legacy to the world, you have an expert knowledge that you want to share, you have a story. Maybe you experience a traumatic experience and you want to share your story with the world, or maybe you want to use it as part of your business. Maybe you want to use it to position yourself as an expert in your field, maybe to use it as a way to grow your mailing list, or just an extra passive income stream for you and your family. But whatever it is, whatever is your purpose, you need to understand it first and foremost, underpin your why before you start writing your book. Really, really important. And I think a lot of people miss that in the first place.
I think you're absolutely right. I mean, the people I'm thinking about, you weren't totally clear, and I think that, there's lots of people that want to write books, and particularly, as we spoke about before we started recording, going through lockdown has been a perfect opportunity for the creative people that have now suddenly got time in their hands to go and write a book. So where would you start? What would be the thing that you'd say, what to think about? I mean, of course, everybody's different, but there must be something that you sort of get to trigger people. What would you get them to think about, in essence, to write a book? Because, for example, right, I've got stories, I've got history, Adrian's got stories, he's got history. We've all got stories and history, but what's going to be relevant to what you want to write about isn't necessarily, I suppose, what you always want to speak about.
That's a really good question, Elliot. And again, what I've noticed is that this is one of the biggest mistakes new authors make. Sometimes because they're so excited, they start writing their books and they will write about what's interesting for them.
Yeah.
They will write something that is so self-absorbed, something so self-centered, and they assume that readers would want to read what they have in mind. So for my students, the first step is we understand our why. The second is we block a specific time in our calendar. We make sure that we set time frames, we set goals. This is not just something that we are doing in our spare time. We block specific times in our calendar to make sure that that time is protected, and that this is not a project that will carry on for years and years to come. We block our time, we dedicate 90 days to plan, write, and publish the book. And at the end of it, they get to #1 bestseller. That's a second step. But the third step, and I think this is a step that a lot of new authors make, is that they don't do their market research. They don't do their keyword research. And for me and my students who go through the Get It Done Challenge, we spend a whole week doing our keyword research, identifying the high traffic, low competition keywords that Amazon readers are putting on the search bar to
Right.
understand what's the demand, what are people looking for. So if I'm going to give you an example, for me as a psychologist, I can write about so many things, right? I can write about changing old habits. I can write about procrastination. I can write about anxiety, depression, so many things that I could write as a psychologist. But there was a point when I did my keyword research and I wanted to write something around self-confidence, helping people to overcome self-doubt so they can pursue what they want to pursue in life. So I did my keyword research. I have a software that I use to help me. I have tools to help me with my keyword research. And I found that, yes, there are thousands of people looking for books on confidence, on how to improve their self-worth. But there are also like several 100,000 books on this topic.
Of course.
So confidence is a good topic, and I couldn't really compete, for example, with all the heavyweights. Like, well, I actually did, and I got to number one, beating them. But we'll talk about that later. But when I didn't have my self-esteem because I was starting off at that time. I didn't realize that I can compete. But putting that on the side, when I was doing my keyword research, I found that confidence, there's so much competition there. So I started looking for more books, and I thought, maybe I should write about imposter syndrome, because this is something that's coming up all the time. I can see so many of my students experiencing imposter syndrome, especially for writers. They are experts in their field, but they feel as if they're not good enough or expert enough to share what they have to share. So I typed that in my software, imposter syndrome, and there were more than 4,000 searches per month on that keyword. And there were only like 2 or 3 books in using that keyword. So I thought, okay, I'm a psychologist. I have a PhD. I think I have credibility to talk about this topic, and I can compete. I can actually beat those other 4 books because I have my credentials. So I went for it, and it's been a number 1 bestseller. It's been 2.5 years now, and it's still there at the top. So keyword research is really important for my students. We spend a whole week researching, really identifying, first of all, our ideal readers. We identify their needs, their goals, their fears, their frustrations, their aspirations. And then we do the keyword research, really understand what our readers are putting in on the Amazon search bar, because it helps us to identify the specific pain points that they need help with. And for my students, I tell them, you might know so much about your topic, but as far as your book goes, and as far as Amazon self-publishing goes, you will be better off writing a series of books instead of one giant book. Because it's not as if someone is going into a bookstore, picking up a book, smelling the book, and, flicking through the pages. On Amazon, what people do is usually they type in very specific things on the search bar. So they are going into Amazon with something specific in mind. And if you are able to deliver and solve that very specific problem that they are looking for, then you're good to go. And if you have a series of books on the same topic, but just looking at very specific problems, when people see that you have a book series, they might buy your entire series if they love your first book. So it's a really good way to promote your brand, build your portfolio, create the credibility on Amazon, create your platform there, and get known for a whole range of topics. But you have a book series showcasing your expertise. So keyword research, really important. Don't miss that step, because new authors I've seen, that's a crucial step that they often miss.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same theory, really, when you're getting clarity in business, when people are trying to sort of sell themselves on social media or whatever. It's just it's another search engine, isn't it? So you've just got to get those things right, and the person that's writing the book knows what they're writing it about, and the fact that it is relevant to a particular market. As you said, you don't want to be going into a market that's completely flooded already by everybody else. Go on, Adrian.
Yeah, but basically, it's what I got from here as a conclusion, just for people to understand, is that and I said that, me and Elliot were saying that for a while. You cannot just say you're doing marketing, you're writing books, you're going to talk about the whole topic. You need to go sub niche. So that's what you've done. We went with subcategories or sub keywords, stuff like that, just to help you get there. Is it right then?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
But what happens when you start with, you have an idea right in your head, and you obviously made the plan. I suppose your students that come to you, they must have a plan already in their head, and they plan some things. That's how we're going to do it. That's what I'm going to write. And you just shatter the whole plan and say, well, actually, yeah, you need to change things quite a lot.
The interesting thing is, for my students who are in the Get It Done challenge, so I give them weekly tasks so they don't feel so overwhelmed. There's so many things. There are so many steps that you have to go through to plan, write, publish, and launch your book. And we go through the steps week on week. The interesting thing, though, is we have group coaching sessions every Friday. And during the keyword research week, we go through their keyword research, and they would usually come up with a very specific topic. We go through the software together to do the, to look at the data to see what people are looking for. But instead of crushing their ideas completely, what the keyword research does is it clarifies the focus of what they want to do. So, for example, I have students who would want to write about narcissistic relationships, and it so many of them, they talk about abusive relationships and escaping from narcissistic relationships. And what they find is that there are books that focus just on parents, if they have abusive parents, or some books will just focus on the husband, the boyfriend, or if it is just focusing on the abusive wife, because women can be quite abusive too. So you can actually narrow it down. And when you do the keyword research, you will see how you're going to focus these very specific books. And what we're finding these days from our keyword research as well is that a lot of people going on Amazon are looking for very practical books. They are looking for journal prompts, or planners and diaries, things like that. So for my students, when they see that, when we do our keyword research, they already have a general topic in their mind. And when we do the keyword research, it helps them to narrow down the focus. That's certainly what happened with me. I have so many ideas that I want to write about psychology, but when I do my keyword research, it just helps me to narrow it down. And before I start writing my book, when I understand that there is a demand for it, it gives me the confidence to get started, knowing that people are looking for this kind of book. And it helps me to power through, because I know that when I finish writing this book, that it's going to be successful, because I know that the market wants it, that the readers are looking for it, and I just have to carry on so I can deliver it immediately.
Yeah. I mean, so does that mean that the whole book then has to focus on those, or that you just use those keywords and you use that in the sort of in the title of the book or whatever? Is that what you're sort of getting at?
Oh yeah. Well, that's actually one of the reasons why we do it in week 1, because for my students, what I tell them is, in week 1, it's going to help you identify your topic. Don't worry about, coming up with the title in week 1. Week 1 is all about identifying your market, identifying what people are looking for. Write a book around that topic. And by the time we get to week 7, when they finish writing their books, we revisit the keyword research and make sure that those high traffic, low competition keywords are in their title, subtitle, series title, book description, and so on. So that's one of the strategies that I teach my students, is that you have to optimize your metadata. And what the metadata means is that your title, subtitle, book description, series title, and also the keywords that you put in the back end on Amazon will have those high traffic, low competition keywords, so that when people type in those keywords on Amazon, your book is the first one that shows up on that list. So if I can just give an example, one of my students, Louise Armstrong, she's the #1 best-selling author of Change How You See Yourself Today. And that title wasn't an accident, or we weren't really being very creative there. But
Right.
when we were doing our keyword research, we found that there were 13,000 people per month who were typing in the keyword, key phrase, if you like, because it's a bunch of words, but
Right.
they were typing in change how you see yourself. 13,000 plus people every month type in those words, and change how you see yourself today has 12,000 plus searches per month.
Right.
So I told Luis, look, look at this. It's so high traffic, low competition. There was no existing book with that title. So we took that title, and if you type in those keywords, Luis's book will be the first book that you will see on Amazon. And what's interesting with her is that she launched. Obviously, she got to #1 bestseller because she's working with me. All of my students get to #1 bestseller. But even after 2 months of launching, for her, without even touching, promoting, she didn't do anything, but it stayed at the #1 spot, 2-3 months after she launched, because she managed to trigger the Amazon algorithm. She was getting organic traffic simply because those 13,000 people were typing in those keywords every month. And Luis's book is the first one to turn up because she used that for the title of her book. So,
Okay.
it's one of the strategies that we use.
Okay, so I'm curious, how many sales are you talking about here? I mean, if you're #1, because I get how these things work, and I know people that have put books into certain categories to get a #1 spot, and it's a category that's nothing to do with obviously what the book is about. Okay, that's maybe an underhanded way of doing it, but lots of people do it. Right?
It's a strategy
Yeah.
where
It's a gray hat.
identify the categories. I have to say, when Louise launched her book during launch week, she had over 3,500 downloads in one day.
Wow.
In one day.
Okay,
So, she had massive downloads on that day. And, as she progressed, she was getting several dozen. But, she kept her #1 best-selling status, even in the psychology categories, even in the self-help categories that are highly competitive.
Okay, so you got 3,500 now. You've found out the best way of putting the book to market the book, in essence, right, through Amazon. Obviously, Amazon's going to be the place to go, and you've got 3,500. So does this mean that you've got to have printed already, 5,000 books ready, in stock on Amazon?
No. This is the beauty of Amazon self-publishing, because obviously you have the Kindle version. You can also have the audiobook version, which is, well, to be completely honest, because this is like a radio show and a lot of people listening on podcasts and so on, audiobook sales are fantastic. People are listening to audiobooks. So, if you're going to write a book, consider audiobooks as well. But in terms of the print, Amazon is print on demand. So when someone buys your book, the Amazon will print it and distribute it for you. So you don't have to buy, a stock of your books and invest invest so much money to get your books printed and distributed. Obviously, if you want to buy your books, you can do that. You can purchase author copies. I have one student, Eldorado Anderson. He wrote his book, and he ordered like hundreds of author copies of his book, signed copies, and he's been shipping. Like, I think he had 200 orders already of his printed signed copies of his book. So you can do that.
Yes.
But if you don't want to invest and pay in advance for print copies of your books, Amazon is print on demand. So
and what sort of cut do they have? So when you do it that way, I mean, the reason I asked the question is, I knew the answer, obviously, but but how does that work? I don't know the ramification, how that actually works financially. How does that system work?
Yeah, well, in terms of the royalties, it varies depending on your price. So for the Kindle version, if your price is between $2.99 to $9.99, you get 70% of 70% royalty, and 30% goes to Amazon. If your book is priced less than $2.99, or over $9.99, then you get, I think, 30 or 35%. I'll have to double check. So it depends on the pricing of your book.
So
And
your prime pricing is what, from what price did you say? $2.99 to
$2.99 to $9.99 for the Kindle version. For the print version, the royalties vary because it depends on how what you call it, how many pages your book is, if it is colored, if it's black and white, if it's glossy, and print is something else. But again, there's a royalty split there, and there are calculators on Amazon to calculate your royalties. And what I love about the Amazon dashboard is you can actually see how many people are downloading your books, how many print copies you're selling, and if you are on Kindle Select, KDP Select, your book will also go out to their Kindle Unlimited subscribers. You are actually getting a piece of your share in the Amazon pot. So if they have subscribers and people are reading your books, you will get paid per page, depending on how big the pot is during that month. So there are different ways that you earn. You'll have your Kindle version, audiobook version, you have the print version, and also Kindle Unlimited. You get a proportion of the shares depending on how much people are reading your books per page. So I absolutely love it. And I have to say as well, on the audiobook version of your book, they have bounty points as well. Something like if someone subscribes to Audible and your book is the first book that they downloaded, you get $50 just like that. So it's
Cool.
fantastic. Yeah, it's all they call it your bounty points. So you get bounty points when people actually subscribe to Audible. If they download your book, the first audiobook that they download with that subscription.
Okay. Well, listen, we've got a couple of people. So we've got obviously one of our biggest fans. My mum always comes and says hello on the show, and she said hello to you as well, Dr. Eni. She spelled it wrong, but you'd have to bear with my mum.
It's next to him. Hello, Elliot's mom.
Good to see you, Henny.
And we've also got Iqbal Manro. Hello, I'm from Indonesia. Hi, Iqbal.
Oh, neighbor. Hi, neighbor. I'm originally from the Philippines.
Thank you very much for watching and joining us. I hope you get some value from this. What I was going to say is that there was a point that I believe that the people were doing books as giveaways. This was up until. Adrian, up until about the last year, I would say.
They still do it.
They still do. You pay shipping only, something like that.
What I mean is that people are doing books just as a free
lead magnet,
as a lead magnet. But this is actually putting a slightly different twist on things, because one, if you get this right, it's actually could be a good revenue generator.
Oh, yeah. It's the reason why I quit my job was because I was earning enough royalties to pay for the bills. Writing and self-publishing my books empowered me to quit my job and do my business. The reason why I started with self-publishing, I'm traditionally published, by the way. I've been in academia for 20 years writing textbooks, research papers. I have 30 plus publications published traditionally with the publisher. But for me, with self-publishing, I felt that I have more creative freedom and control, and I have my royalties. I actually earn more as a self-published author than as a traditional, from a traditional publisher. So for me, I started writing my books because, first of all, I wanted to clarify what I can offer in my coaching practice. I want to solidify the strategies that I use with my clients as a chartered psychologist. So I wanted to establish myself as an expert, build my mailing list because people have read my books and, they trust me. They know, like, and trust me because they've read my books. And that's the way that I'm getting my one-to-one psychology clients. They read my book, they love it. They sign up to my mailing list and they get in touch with me and ask me if they can work with me as their psychologist. So that's going in autopilot. But at the same time, I'm earning enough royalties to pay for my bills because I have books and audiobooks. So it's absolutely fantastic. I find it so liberating because with the traditional publishing route, it takes us years. It takes us 2 years to get our books out. Whereas with Amazon self-publishing, you hit the publish button and within 4 hours, it's done. It's out. And if you want to update your stuff because you spotted a little typo, just after you publish, you can't do that, and it changes within 24 hours. You don't have to wait for 2 years to update something.
Yeah.
So it's absolutely fascinating. It's absolutely wonderful. So empowering.
Yeah.
And it brings back the power and control to the authors and also the readers, because instead of having the publishers being the gatekeepers of who gets published and who doesn't, it's actually the readers who are choosing which books and which authors they want to support. So for the self-published authors, I know that there are tons and tons of self-published authors out there. Some are good, some are mediocre, but the ones who are good actually stand out, because the readers find value from their work. They leave amazing reviews, and it helps the authors to get their work out there, help more people with what they have to say. It also helps with their branding, with their business, the visibility. And as you can see, I'm a huge fan. And,
No,
and I
really, you hide it
absolutely
very well. I mean, I can tell why you're an author, because you do like to talk, Dr. Emee, to be fair. But
I was a lecturer, so that's another. I was a lecturer, academic writer, so yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, I mean, and you are very, very passionate about it, and I love that. And I'd never realised that this was a thing. I mean, listen, I know people who have done books, written books, and they say they're number one, and they're number one because
For
they've
the
done it
categories.
in a particular way, and they've got it there so they can basically use it as a bit of a PR stunt and stick it on social media that they're a number one bestseller. And then probably within a few days, then they're not a number one bestseller again, just because of the way they do things. And there's loads of strategies out there, and they teach you these sorts of things on numerous different business courses or groups that you can join, that you pay to, and it's been part of your sort of marketing strategy. But this sounds pivotal. This sounds, as I said, very much like if you do it right and you're clever about it, and you actually write something that people actually want to read. So not what you want to write. Well, you want to write, but in a way that people are going to want to read it, and market it that way, just like you would if you were setting a business up and you want to get it out to a market and you're not quite sure the market is. Those search words, we talked about this 30 episodes ago, however many episodes we've done, 20 episodes ago, when we were talking about keyword searches for business, weren't we, Adrian?
Yeah, exactly. It's everywhere. Same like maybe social media marketing, stuff like that. I used to be an Amazon seller, and that's what we've discussed about that. Google Trends, all those kind of things. That's what's going to help you when you try to launch a new product.
And essentially, a book is a product. I think this is what some authors forget. That they get so excited about writing a book, so they just end up writing it. And one of the biggest mistakes that they make is they assume that writing a good book is enough. Well, obviously, you need to write a good book. You need to write something that would connect with the readers, something that your readers actually want. But essentially, this is a product. And as a business owner, before you launch a product, you actually have to do your market research. You need to understand if there's a demand for it even before you start developing it. So that's something that I teach my students. I know that so many other authors skip that part, but it's really important, not just in terms of it would be good for your marketing, but it's also good for you as a writer and for your readers, because you're identifying their needs, their goals, their fears, their frustrations, so you can understand what they are looking for, what they need, and so you can write a book that will serve them well. And I have to say that I have been attracting so many heart-centered entrepreneurs, people who want to serve, people who have this meaning and this sense of purpose, that they have this expertise, that they want to help people with their knowledge, that they want to serve others. And for me, it breaks my heart for them to write something that is meaningful and not really doing well on Amazon. They spend so much time, energy, and so much enthusiasm to write and publish their books, only for it to flop just because they don't understand the market. So if we can get it sorted from week one, make sure that they understand that this is a product. You need to understand your market. You need to be able to deliver a product that will serve your audience well. If you start with that foundation, you're way on track to getting to number one bestseller on Amazon.
Yeah, I love that. I'm not going to pop this one up on the screen, but Stephen Alexander says, can you do a shout out for my friend Nick Gurr? He's a big fan of yours, Dr. Emee, apparently. So he's saying,
Wow.
so that's there. Oh, that's a lovely picture, Stephen. Thanks very much.
Hi. Yeah, quick question now, Dr. Emee. I'm going to go a bit technical. So what software do you use for keyword research? I assume something like maybe Helium 10 or stuff like that? What do you
I
actually
use Publisher Rocket. Publisher Rocket is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it. Every time I use it with my one-to-one clients and with my students, it shows the searches per month. It shows the competition score. It shows what books already exist, how they are doing, how much they are selling, and if you are able to compete with them. And it even shows you the keywords. It throws in some suggested keywords as well. So there may be things that you wouldn't think about, and Publisher Rocket will make suggestions as well. So I
like
absolutely love it, and I highly recommend it.
And that's quite an interesting point as well, because sometimes you think of things you want to search for, but you need alternatives, don't you? I mean, I can't remember what's the one I've used on Google that used to be
Bazumo?
Sorry?
Bazumo?
No, I can't remember. There was another one, but it used to be quite good. I mean, you have to pay for it now, but it used to give you a massive list of what they were, and almost how much how many searches there were for lots of different variations of the search as well. I can't remember what it was called now, but I've used that for a while, and then it had to be paid as well, so I didn't start using it. But I think this is really good. That's a really good tool. I mean, I like that. Is that a paid app? Is it a Google?
It is. I believe it's $97, and they might be moving to a subscription service soon. So it's something to it's something to get now if you're actually.
So it's $97 lifetime. I get.
Yes, you'll get the license for it. Yes.
But I mean, that's a great tool for everything that you can do in business, and not just on the book side, right?
Yes, you can. They actually have a column as well for Google searches per month. So they have Amazon searches per month, and also Google searches per month, and you can see the competition score. So it's a really handy tool, and it also shows you the competition. What other books are using these keywords. So you can see, for example, when I was typing in my keyword research, I could see Michelle Obama coming up, and Oprah, and the Dalai Lama, and I'm thinking, oh no, how am I gonna compete? But eventually I did compete. I was telling you before we went live, for my first book, Change Your Life for Good, I did launch it around New Year's Eve, and I did manage to get to #1 bestseller and outrank Tim Ferriss, because I was following a very specific launch strategy.
Sure.
I had a strategy with my pricing. I had a launch team, and so on. And yeah, it was just a thrill, getting to #1 and actually being a legit, #1 bestseller side by side, and outranking Tim Ferriss. It was just an absolute delight.
Yeah, that's congratulations on that, and that's what spurred you to do so well with all your clients, wasn't it? You proved the theory yourself, and then you've used that for countless people that, and you
Yes,
said
and absolutely, for me, it wasn't just a one of, I tried it again, second book, same thing happened, third book, same thing happened. So I knew that process works. And now with my students, I have 37 students joining me in the Get It Done Challenge. Now we're going through the process together, and it's just an absolute thrill to see them progressing. From my past students, I still have a 100% success rate. All of my students getting to #1 bestseller, because we start with the keyword research, making sure that they write and deliver a book that serves their audience. They organize a launch team. They have a whole team of supporters helping them before they launch. So by the time they launch, they have this whole team rallying for them, getting them to #1, and we celebrate together. And for me, it's such a thrill that I'm able to support so many authors. And for all of them, all of my students, they are so passionate about what they do. They are, maybe because I'm attracting other psychologists and therapists and other coaches, life coaches, they are so passionate about helping people heal from pain or heal from previous trauma, or just to improve their life, to change their lives. And for me to be able to help them help others, it's just an amazing, wonderful feeling.
But you've got 37 people that you're doing this course. How do you make sure that each one of those is different and each one gets the number one? I mean, you know, if you've got similar people in a group, they're going to be competing, though.
Well, not necessarily. Well, that's the beauty of having a very specific niche. So, for example, I will have a student who will be focusing on helping recover from trauma if you are from a Black and minority ethnic group, or you know, some of them would be focusing on LGBT. Others will be focusing on people with disability. So there are very specific client groups. So even if you are all about recovering from pain or improving your life, there are so many different demographics that you can focus on, so many different categories as well to choose from. So it's not necessarily a competition. And when it comes to launches, most of the time they end up launching one after the other. So someone will launch this week, another one will launch this week. So they don't actually clash during launch week. And what we find is that people don't usually just buy one book on one topic. You know,
Right.
if they see that there are 2 or 3 books in the same topic launching at the same time, they will buy those 3 books. It's only 99 cents during launch week. It's not, you know, it's not a massive amount of money.
Right.
So, you know, you don't.
So it's also specifically about pricing it so that people, it's a no-brainer for them to get it.
Exactly, absolutely. And for my students, what I tell them is, okay, they're thinking 99 cents, how am I gonna make money? And I will tell them, don't worry about making money in the first month. You might just break even in the first month, but your point for launch week or for your launch month, if you're launching for the whole month, is that you want to get your book in the hands of as many people as you can. Try to trigger the algorithm, you know, the Amazon algorithm. Make sure that you have consistent sales every day, that there's traffic on your page, that people are downloading your book, leaving reviews, so that the Amazon bots will identify your book as a relevant book in this topic, and Amazon will increase the visibility of your book, because Amazon is in the business of making money, right? You know, they're selling books to make money. And if they understand that your book is something that will make them money because you are selling books and you have consistent sales, it's in the best interest of Amazon to promote your book. You know, it will improve the visibility of your book, maybe recommend your book to other readers who might be, you know, like you have like these suggested
I was going to say that it'll start popping up there. So then at that stage, I'm assuming you can put the price up and people are there.
Yes, absolutely. For our pricing strategy in my program, I would encourage my students to have like a promo period of 10 to 14 days, and then after that you can increase your price, test it out, $2.99, $4.99, $9.99. See how your audience responds, and when you find your sweet spot for your pricing, then you just stick your price there. And what I also tell my students is, if they can publish a book 2 or 3 months later, just keep building that portfolio. What I've noticed is that some of the most successful self-published authors on Amazon have a portfolio of 10 to 15 books, because what happens is that people will find them at book 12 and realize that, oh, you know, they have other books. They buy all the other books in the series or whatever other books that they find there. So what I tell my students, launch your first book, enjoy it. You know, you will get to #1 bestseller. After 2 to 3 months, try to publish another one, because when you sell and launch your second book, you will help your first book as well, because people will find that on the same page you have book 2, you also have book 1. If they haven't read book 1 yet, that will elevate your brand, and just keep, you know, producing books, especially if you are writing shorter books. And you are building a series of books in that series. That's a really great way to build the momentum and keep promoting previous books, because you keep adding more books in your portfolio.
What do you class as a short book?
Short book is around 17 to 20,000 words. 15 to 20,000 words is a short book.
How many pages is that?
That's around 120 to 150 pages.
That sounds like a hell of a lot of work to me.
To be honest with you, a 20,000 word book.
To sit there and type that is going to take me forever.
No, no, I have to say, Elliot, what I've noticed is that so many of my students, the life coaches, the business coaches, they have this thinking that they are not writers, that they can't really write, but they are excellent speakers. They
Mm.
have existing courses, they have existing seminars already about their topic. And what I ask them to do is record yourself
And then
talking about your topic, get someone to interview you like this, and then transcribe it. And then you can just reformat your information, get someone to edit it for you and turn it into a book. Because really, we're not writing Nobel Prize winning books. We're not really writing literary masterpieces. We are writing books that will be practical and helpful for our readers. And if you are holding that expertise, if you have that expert knowledge in your topic, that's going to be relatively easy to write. Or
Yeah.
if you're not a writer, it's relatively easy to speak it, record yourself, just capture your knowledge
Mm.
and then transcribe it and put it on paper.
Yeah.
So, that's a great way. I mean, a 20,000 word book, it will take you maybe about 2.5 hours to speak it. So essentially, you can write your book, speak your book in a day. Or,
Mm.
if you're still thinking about the outline, so it will take you a weekend. If you are an expert in your field, it's not going to be that difficult. And especially if you know your niche, if you know your clients and what they need from you, it's going to be so easy and you'll be so fired up because you want to serve your people and get the information out there as quickly as you can.
Yeah, for sure. Adrian, you're going to write a book?
At some point, yeah.
See, I wanted to write one called "How Not to Do It," didn't I? But who's going to search for that? Who's going to search for that? Nobody's going to
How
search.
not to
I
do
think you
it.
need to be more specific.
Yeah,
probably.
what are you talking about, Elliot? What not to do about what?
How not to do things. Learning the hard way.
Yeah, I think that's
right.
what according to Emmy, not
Yeah,
just
that wouldn't
Emmy,
work.
you need to go how not to do more specific things, right?
So for years,
Yeah.
I've wanted
Is it
to use that title.
business? Is it about a very specific business? Is it
Yeah.
about marketing? Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But people do come out with books that are spurious titles, and they work very well, don't they? But I suppose
So,
they're authors already, aren't they?
Yeah,
you
so,
can.
so that's what happens when you have traditionally published books and celebrities. If you already have a huge following, then you can be as creative as you like with your, something really weird titles. You can do that because people aren't really going to look for your title; they're going to look for you.
Of course.
So so that's when you have thousands of followers and when you have your audience, then you can have a title however you like because they're not looking for the book title, they're gonna look for you. But if you were like me when I started, I had 0 followers. Okay, my students might look for Dr. Emee Estacio. They might do that. But for the people that I want to reach, lay audiences, people who are looking for applied psychology books, they wouldn't know who I am. They are actually typing what they are looking for instead of a specific person.
Yeah.
So that's the difference. If you already have existing followers, you can write the most weird title, most creative title that you like. That's absolutely fine because people are going to look for you and your book anyway. But if you have 0 followers or if you are relatively unknown, then you want your book to be visible, and the way to do that is by looking for the high traffic, low competition keywords and making sure that you optimize your page, you optimize your metadata on your KDP dashboard so your book becomes more visible and Amazon will show your book to more readers that way.
Yeah. Adrian, were you going to say something a second ago?
Yeah, I want to say, so you can write a book about how not to write a book, and you just say, basically how not to write a book. Don't say that you're going to write one and you don't do it for 5 years and stuff like that.
Well, it's been very informative. I just literally did not know that was a thing. As I said, I thought people that were doing books, it was about giveaways and as you said, sort of a lead magnet.
Yeah.
Very, very, very interesting. Where can people find you, Dr. Emee Estacio?
Yes, well, the best way to find me is through Facebook. I have a free Facebook community called Self-Publishing Made Simple. So if you just put Self-Publishing Made Simple community on Facebook, I'm live there every Tuesday. I have live Q&As there, so you can literally ask me anything about writing and self-publishing and launching your book to #1 bestseller. We have amazing resources there. We have the starter kit. So all of the steps that you need to take to plan, write, publish, and launch your books on Amazon. It's all there in that community. It's a warm, supportive, friendly community. We support each other, and when people get to #1 bestseller, we celebrate together. So just find me on Facebook, Self-Publishing Made Simple Community. Join us. I am there live every Tuesday, and you can literally ask me anything.
Perfect, great stuff. Well, listen, I've learned something this evening. Whether I'm going to be writing a book in the near future, I don't know, to be honest. But I do want to do one at some stage. So when I do, I'll definitely.
You know who to call.
Exactly. Adrian, when you want to write a book, should we write one together? Maybe you could write half of it.
Definitely. I'm just.
I'll do Saturday. You can do Sunday.
Yeah, because Amy said that we can actually do it in one weekend. So yeah, exactly. I'm more than happy with that, to be honest.
Do your keyword research first. Ask your audience. Ask what they want, and deliver what your readers are looking for.
Yeah.
That's
what I want to write about how to play with clay. Anyway, so yeah, I'm not sure what you want to write about, Elliot, but yeah, we can make something together.
That was the most furious idea to come up with completely. Listen. It's been great. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been definitely informative. I do think that there's going to be a huge amount of people out there that will pick up on this and and find out, because there is loads of people. There have been loads of people that I've seen on Facebook. They've been writing books, and they've probably been marketing themselves or putting it out there and wasting a lot of time. So there's definitely a few ideas and tips there that are going to help them to get that marketed and probably maybe even go back to drawing board a little bit and redo things so that it's marketable on Amazon. And there's some great tools on there by the sounds of it. So I'll be checking those out. I think that's cool. I'm good. I'm good with that this evening. Really, really good. I hope you guys out there, whether you're listening or watching, have enjoyed this as well and picked up some ideas. If you're a budding, author. That's it. That's the word. Budding author. You want to be an author. You've got a story to tell, whether it's business or whether it's something personal that you've done. Then you can go and check Dr. Emee out, and she'll be able to help you with her group, by the sounds of it, which is all cool. And if you want to find out what else is going on Essex Business Radio, and we've got loads of bits going on and coming up, and some news coming up for you later on this month, then you can find us on virtually every social media platform, apart from, as Adrian reminded me earlier on, Pinterest and TikTok, which we're not on those, but otherwise it's Essex Business Radio, apart from Twitter, which is Essex Biz, BIZZ Radio, and of course YouTube. You may be watching this on YouTube right now. You could be watching on Facebook. You could even be watching this on Twitter. Because we're going out through 7 different profiles. In fact, we can do another one. We can do another profile, Adrian. 8 profiles with StreamYard. How good is that? That is awesome. So if you are listening to this as a podcast, then you'll probably listen to this late August. If you are watching, we are going to be getting a load of these podcasts we've been doing live. We're going to be turning them into audio podcasts and getting them up, so you can all listen to them while you're driving or jogging or doing whatever the hell you're doing. So that's all good. That's it for now.
You can breathe now. You can take a sip of water. Yeah.
But anyway, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Dr. Emee. Thank you very much, Adrian Dorobantu. I've been your host, Elliot Brown. This has been Essex Business Radio and the Pivotal Podspective. So we're going to sign off for now, and it's our ciao for now.
Brown cow.
Bye.